Welcome to a bonus episode of the Real Forno Show. I am Tyler Fornes, and today we're going to be talking about quarterbacks. Now, there has been some discussion about how much assets the Vikings have put into trying to find their franchise quarterback, and one of the interesting elements about this is saying that 4 has been enough attempts in the last 45 years. Now, I don't know if you believe that 4 is enough attempts, but I certainly don't. But it is about average for what NFL teams have tried to invest in the position as far as using top 64 selections. Now, the Vikings have done so 4 times in that time frame, and the first one was Dante Culpepper in 1999. So from 1978 till 2022, they used only 1 pick before the new millennium started, and that was Dante Culpepper. They drafted Christian Ponder 12th overall in 2011, Teddy Bridgewater 32nd in 2014, and then they also drafted Tavares Jackson 64th overall in 2006. Now, with the history of the Vikings at quarterback, it's really kind of embarrassing that they have taken so few shots at trying to find that franchise guy, but rather they kept going the veteran route. And that lasts a year or two at max, and then it ends up turning over. And Kirk Cousins is the only veteran that they found that's lasted more than a couple seasons. You look at the Dennis Green era, it's just veteran after veteran after veteran after veteran, and it's a turnstile. It turns into Dayton's in downtown Minneapolis. This is kind of embarrassing, and I don't care if it's the average. It could be the average across the NFL. But when you look at the turnstile at the quarterback position the Vikings have had, not going after a franchise quarterback consistently, even if you fail, is quite frankly abysmal and really, really unfortunate. Just from 1980 to 1999, the Vikings have drafted 7 quarterbacks. And in that time frame, there were 286 quarterbacks taken. They took 2.45% of all the quarterbacks, 6 of the 281 taken since the new millennium started in 2000, only 2.14% of all quarterbacks. They're not just trying to find that guy early. They're not even trying to find the guy late. And when it comes to situations like this, you can compare across the entire league. But at the end of the day, you have to compare to yourself too. And by comparing to ourselves, the Minnesota Vikings, it's quite frankly an embarrassment how little this franchise has cared about the quarterback position. And I bring in my trusty producer, Dave, who's going to appear up in the top right corner. Dave, when we take a look at this data, it's quite frankly alarming when you look at this big of a sample size and how little this franchise, quote unquote, has cared about the position, because caring in this sense is a very relative term. What are your biggest takeaways from this?
That the Minnesota Vikings have always done poorly at it overall. They need to improve at that. And by poorly, it shows in the numbers. The more swings you take, the better opportunity you have to find that guy. Let's take more swings. Like, I believe draft quarterback every other year, no matter what. Even if he's, a 7th round developmental guy, you're at least taking those swings and you're learning in the process. Hey, if you find the one, like New England found Tom Brady for 20 years, but that didn't stop them from drafting quarterbacks. They drafted and they developed. And then later, if they're any good, you turn that into more assets for yourself via trades. So it's a good philosophy to get into. I hope Kwesi looks at it that way and does implement that. We went through a whole ton of regimes since 1980, and you can see that there needs to be a change.
There absolutely needs to be a change. And one of the frustrating parts is if it doesn't work, that doesn't mean you don't keep trying. You look at your past and you learn from it. Hell, the Broncos and Dolphins had Hall of Fame quarterbacks for 20-ish years, and they still have drafted more quarterbacks than the Vikings in that time frame. It's quite frankly an embarrassment how little the Vikings have really cared about the position, because you know what? You're not going to find a Justin Herbert or a Josh Allen. Well, you can't find them if you don't even try. And the Vikings need to do a better job of trying to find that guy wherever it is in the draft. Because at the end of the day, process is better than overall results, because great process will eventually drive great results.